Hey, Wolfies, are you ready for the bite?
Welcome to Return to Beacon Hills, a Teen Wolf rewatch podcast. I am one of your hosts, Will Wallace, and I'm joined by
Kalissa Mullis
and Kate Colvin.
Every week, we'll be watching and talking about the hit MTV series one episode at a time. But this week, we're talking about us and our experiences with Teen Wolf. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at RTBH Podcast, as well as on Tumblr and TikTok at Return to Beacon Hills. If you'd like to ask us questions or offer suggestions for future topics to discuss, you can email us at returntobeaconhills@gmail.com.
Excellent. All right. So we are three friends who love Teen Wolf. And what are we doing here tonight? What is Teen Wolf?
Teen Wolf was a supernatural adventure series that premiered on June 5th of 2011 on MTV and aired its final episode on September 24th, 2017. Cannot believe that was that long ago. The series ran for 6 seasons and 100 episodes and was created by Jeff Davis, who'd previously created the hit series Criminal Minds, and the show was based on the movie Teen Wolf, written by Jeff Loeb and Matthew Weissman. It was a very wacky 80s film that was nothing like the TV show.
Almost nothing at all.
So what are we doing with this podcast, Kate? Why should people tune into this?
Yeah, so we want to introduce new viewers to the hit MTV series and be a place where fans of the show can come together to talk about our love of supernatural creatures and a small/large town in Northern California that can seemingly survive anything.
That's right. The size of Beacon Hills kind of changes depending on the scene/episode that's happening. So whatever the story needs, if you need downtown skyscrapers and subway systems, Teen Wolf has you covered. If you just need something folksy and down-home backwoods, Teen Wolf also has you covered. Beacon Hills is the Springfield of the supernatural teen genre. So whatever you need, the city has, or the town has.
Also filled with the most beautiful people in the world.
It is.
That is, in fact, accurate, and many of them turn into monsters. But that's okay.
Beautiful monsters.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful monsters. And they're all in high school.
That's a price tag I'm willing to pay.
It is. All right, so how did we all discover Teen Wolf? So
we didn't really get in on the ground floor, I wouldn't say.
Was it the first or second season? It was actually, I think, the end of the first season headed into the second season.
Right. We hadn't even started watching it at the time that the first season was airing. Is that right? I think that's right.
Yeah, we watched it between seasons. Gotcha. Yeah, we caught up during the first season, and then we were waiting for the second season to air.
Right.
Well, that is a little bit different than my story. My story is I worked on Teen Wolf, and I was a writer on Teen Wolf, and I wrote 5 episodes of the series by the time it ended in 2017. I didn't start as a writer, though. I started as just a lowly PA scanning documents in 2011 for some, Twilight ripoff show called Teen Wolf. I remember very distinctly that I was watching Jersey Shore, the epitome of class and sophistication, and they showed the very first commercial for Teen Wolf. And I remember I was watching Jersey Shore with my then roommate, Mike, and we both saw that commercial and we were like, oh, it's just some Twilight ripoff. It's going to be so bad, so stupid. Well, little did I know that exactly 1 month later, I would be working on Teen Wolf, and I was scanning documents at the MTV offices down in Santa Monica, and they shot the show in Georgia for the first 2 seasons, but they came back to LA to do pickups and reshoots for those first 2 seasons. And so I somehow got hired by Atia Henry to scan some documents. I still wasn't impressed. I was still too cool for this show at that time, being unemployed for 2 years at that point. And I just
that explains the Jersey Shore.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure he watched all of Teen Mom, but he didn't want to admit to that.
This isn't a Teen Mom podcast, but yeah, so I asked Karen Gorodetsky, one of the executive producers on Teen Wolf, who I was working with at the time. I was like, can I just read the pilot script for this show that's probably not going to be any good? And she gave me the script, and I read it, and it was awesome. It was just good. It made no sense that it was good. And she let me borrow the other 11 scripts that I, for the first season. I took them all home and read them all over the weekend, and I was hooked. And I remember telling Mike, and I was like, Mike, this show Teen Wolf, we were totally wrong. We were so wrong. It's really, really good. It makes, again, no sense that a show dealing with this premise high school kids. Twilight was still big at that time. It's like high school kids, Supernatural, whatever. But it was just good. And then, so I made sure that Karen Gordetsky and Joe Janier, two executive producers on the show, that I really wanted to work with them again. And they said, oh, Will, we really like you. We'd like to work with you more. You can always move to Atlanta. And I was like, I can't do that because it's expensive. But they were great. And when the show went back to Atlanta, I sadly stayed in LA. And then for season 2, when they came back, they hired me again. And I worked with them again. And then with season 3, they came back to LA for good because they got the California tax credit. And I was one of the first people they hired. It was Karen or Joe called me up and was like, hey, all right, you're a PA on our show now. Go sit outside this old speaker factory in Northridge and watch trailer trucks be unloaded with sets. So I did that for a week. I just sat in my car and read a book and watched tractor trailers be backed up to this old speaker factory and all the sets be put into this big space that we were using as a set. I made sure everyone knew that I wanted to be a writer. And then about halfway through season 3A, I got a call one day while I was out on a run from Jeff Davis himself, and he was like, hey, Will, you still want to work in the writer's room? And I was like, yep. And he goes, okay, well, you're the writer's assistant now. So tomorrow come to the writer's room instead of the office. And that was awesome. Wow. And yeah. And so from then on, I was working with the writers. And then, so that was season 3A. And then in season 5, we finished writing or breaking episode 507. And we would all the writers would sit around the table. And we had a projector project onto a screen, like all of the documents we were writing and all this type of stuff. And Jeff closed the document for 507 and opened up one and said 508. And he said, Will, you're writing this episode. And I was like, oh my God, it was awesome. It was like the greatest day of my life. And then, yeah, I didn't mess it up. And they gave me another episode. And then Jeff was like, all right, you're just a writer now. So stop getting us coffee. We'll get someone else to get us coffee. You're a writer on the show. And I wrote 3 more episodes. It was awesome. The greatest job I've ever had was working on that show. And also because, I got to write on that show, but I also met 2 of my best friends working on that show. So why don't y'all let us know your story and see how our paths intersected.
So for us, as we said, we didn't start watching it when the first season was airing. And to be perfectly honest, I think we probably had the same idea that you had, which is that it was probably not going to be amazing. It had been a while since Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We weren't sure that they could make another supernatural teen drama that was actually going to be really good and really compelling. So Teen Wolf already had a decent-sized following by the time we started watching it. But a mutual friend of ours recommended it because it was a genre show, which she knew we were into, and it was queer-friendly, which was a big recommendation point. I also remember her sending an article written by a fan called Why Stiles Stilinski is the Best Character on Television. So that was really interesting. I read it and I thought, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. And really, it wasn't long before we had Moon Day viewing sessions and Teen Wolf themed birthday parties. We were just hooked. Then we moved to LA.
Yeah, so we moved to LA at the very end. It was like literally 3 days after Christmas of 2013. So we started the new year, 2014, in Los Angeles, and we didn't know anyone there. We were sharing a tiny studio apartment in Koreatown, and even, we were from a decent-sized city in Indiana, but it was still, just super quaint compared to Los Angeles. It's just nothing. It was terrifying experience.
Yeah,
being in Los Angeles.
There's just no comparison, really.
No. So I sort of threw myself into my favorite show, which was Teen Wolf, as a distraction to keep from just panicking every day. I found out they were having a Teen Wolf convention called Days of the Wolf in Burbank in February.
But we should clarify, though, the reason we moved to LA is we wanted to be writers.
Yes, that's a good point. And actually, a little segue story here. We had a professor of mine, my scriptwriting professor, who was mentoring us before we moved, and he told us to have some spec scripts before we moved out, and we told him we were really into teen supernatural shows, and he's like, do you guys watch Teen Wolf? You should do one for that show. And it was still brand new. It was before we started watching. And we were like, oh. Yeah.
Are you sure?
But then, we watched the first season after we got into it. And we're like, oh my God, yes.
Hell yeah, we're writing this spec script.
So we wrote a spec script for it.
And listeners, for those of you who don't know, A spec script is what you call it when you write a script for a television show that already exists, that has either been made in the past or is currently airing.
But yeah, the convention Days of the Wolf, we decided just to volunteer for it. So we got to work it. And I think going to Burbank was the first time I drove anywhere in LA because I already have driving anxiety anyway. And just like driving in LA is just, oh my God. If you've never driven in LA, it's an experience.
Yeah. If you've seen that scene in Clueless, it's really accurate.
Extremely
It's a documentary scene.
That's really why we became friends, is just because Kalissa didn't want to have to drive anywhere, and I didn't have a problem driving, so they were like, we have to stay friends with this.
Yeah.
So
100%. Yeah, I'm still waiting, even though he lives in a different state now, for him just to come up here, drive us around, give us teen advice. That's the only reason why I hang on to this friendship.
This is the longest one of all time.
Yes, exactly.
We worked the Days of the Wolf. I took the position of green room security, which no one else wanted, but I was thrilled to have. They were actually like, oh, we feel like so bad for you. Like, you're not going to get to see any of the panels, doing this stuff. I was totally fine because I was like, everyone in the cast has to go right past me.
Exactly.
So,
like, I feel like if you're like, I want to see cast members, just like volunteer for the green room, because that's where they all go. Like, you're going to see everybody.
no one tried to storm the green room. I didn't have to like keep them away. So I think Matt McDonough was the first person who I met, and he was the amazing genius behind the Teen Wolf marketing. And he was just so kind to me. He was just always very friendly and asking like about their interest in the show and everything. He's just a great guy. So I was telling him
that we're writing partners.
Yes, writing partners. And so he introduced me to Angela Harvey and Alyssa Clark, which was a huge deal because they were the female writers on Teen Wolf at the time.
So they were the dream.
They were.
You know, to us.
Yes. And then in April, we volunteered for the next Teen Wolf convention that I found, which was called BiteCon. This time, I think it was the entire writing staff of Teen Wolf came out on the day. Is that true, Will? Was it the entire?
Everyone was there, and then me.
So I had met a lot of people already at the first convention, and I ran to Alyssa again. I was being the obnoxious person, being like, hey, will you read this pilot that Kate and I wrote?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, hey, yeah, have you met Will? He's the writer's assistant. So, yeah, she did. She just kind of palmed us off on Will, which I don't blame her. Like,
he is noted.
No, I get it.
So
I get it.
He will talk to you two right now.
And it's true. Will is just like the absolute nicest guy in the entire world.
It's all true, folks.
And right away, I was like, oh, hey, will you introduce me to Jeff? And he did.
He actually did.
Yeah.
You guys.
He's like, yeah, sure. And Jeff is a very cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was definitely in a hurry, but he was very nice to meet. So Will, he friended us on Facebook. And then our codependent relationship just happened very, very quickly.
It spiraled very quickly.
We met Will April 18th. By April 25th, he had actually read our Teen Wolf spec script and given us a ton of helpful notes. I think he sent that to us the day after we met in a diner and we talked for like 6 straight hours.
Yeah.
We talked. It was like daytime, and then we left like at midnight or something. It was
middle of the night.
We met at Mel's Diner.
That's it, Mel's Diner.
Mel's Drive-In. Yeah.
Mel's Drive-In at Hollywood and Highland.
We sat down at this diner, the 3 of us, and talked about writing and movies and whatever nerdy stuff we could think of for truly like 6 hours.
The funny story about that first meeting, though, which I don't know if Will wants me to tell. So afterward, when we're finally ready to head home and they're kicking us out of this diner, Will was like, okay, I'm walking you to your car because he is a true gentleman. We're like, oh, we don't have a car. And I don't know if the subway was even running at that point. And he's like, oh, I'll take you home. And I was like, that's so sweet. Strange man I know in LA who were just meeting for the second time. And so, we got in the backseat of his car, and back by it was just I very covertly just pulled up Google Maps to make sure he was taking us back to our apartment and not taking us somewhere to murder us.
She probably had Twitter open in case she needed to do a last minute tweet that was Teen Wolf writer's assistant Will Wallace has kidnapped me.
I'm sure Kate was up front. She just had was gripping her keys like little Wolverine claws or something like that, so. But no, I got them home to their place in Koreatown. We we talked the entire way. So, I mean, it was...
My plan was actually, if anything untoward happened, is I would rip out your throat with my teeth and then whisper in your ear, I'm the alpha.
But yeah, no, Will was just like completely awesome and nice and trustworthy and not a murderer, which was really wonderful. We met him April 18th, like I said. By June 12th, he got us a job working as extras in one of the episodes of Teen Wolf, and it was amazing.
It was a dream.
That one, the first time, it was a lacrosse game, I think.
Was that where y'all made the signs?
We didn't get to make the signs, but we did.
But that's where you had the signs. Was that when that was?
I think that was the first time. Okay. Yeah. They gave us a sign that said,
Cyclones, blow them away.
Yes.
I remember that. Great. I was delighted. Yeah. You know what? I remember all the details of this experience because it was the first time that LA felt like the way it feels when you dream about it, you know?
Yeah.
And it was funny, like, I think it was definitely before we met Will. Maybe between conventions, there was like one day we found out where they were filming and we just showed up to set. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we had business cards. We had those business cards.
Okay, yeah, we were like, we're gonna just go and try to we had this thing where we were going to just any productions we saw and we're like, hey, here's a business card, will you hire us as PAs?
You need a PA, yeah.
The thing about in LA though is there's so many jobs everyone wants you to work things for free.
When you first
not actual productions, but so many shady oh, you need experience before you can get on a real production. So here we're doing a pilot.
Right. Or student films.
Films.
Not to say there are absolutely some projects where they can't afford to pay people, but they're not getting paid either. It's a labor of love, and I don't want to disparage any of those kinds of projects. Yeah. We absolutely worked on some of those where, it was a student with an art project, and it was good for the experience. However, there are also productions that are definitely people just trying to take advantage of other people who do need that experience. And that's really unfortunate that those also exist. But luckily for us, anytime Will had a gig that he could get us into, they were real jobs with real paychecks.
Well, I remembered what that was like because my first job in LA was working for $30 a day on a terrible movie that no one should ever watch. I won't name it, but I don't want to be that guy.
Is it the one I have on DVD, Will?
Yeah.
Wait, you have it on DVD?
Yeah, we watched it so we could see Will as...
No. That's the second one. I made a whopping $50 a day on that one.
Up in the world.
No. Yeah, but anytime I can help y'all, I try to. Just because I remember what it was like scrounging and not having anything. Because you're right, everybody wants you to work for free because... they're just like, it's the experience, you're getting your name out there. And I was like, yeah, but that doesn't, pay my phone bill.
So we went to where they were filming at the high school. So we got to see the actual high school location before we were properly invited. But yeah, there were some other Teen Wolf fans there. And
we're just seeing if there was any assistant director who would take our business cards.
But the cast and crew were so nice, even though there was just several fans that just showed up to watch them film and stuff. I think the very first person we talked to was Todd.
Oh, Todd Barron.
Todd Barron, the camera guy.
Todd Barron. Yeah.
What was his official title though?
Hold on.
You never remember Todd. You always give people crap about remembering you, but you never remember Todd. No, but every time I feel like you're always but who's Todd?
Todd Barron.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting fact, was one of these cinematographers on the infamous Room.
Yeah, I remember you telling us about that after the fact, and it was amazing.
Yep, that's exceptional.
We also one time worked, way after, we'd met him several times at that point, as extras on Awkward, and he was on set that day and was like, oh, yay, I know you, and that was exciting. Oh, he also worked on Leprechaun in the Hood. I wish I had known that at the time.
On Preacher, that's dope.
But anyway, yes, so the first person we met on set was Todd, and he was super nice, and they were doing some fight scenes at the school, and they had Arden Cho come down at one point, and she took some pictures with us. I think I saw that picture somewhere.
Yeah, she was lovely.
She was.
She's very, very nice.
I want to say someone else came down just to say hi, but we couldn't take pictures. But yeah, everyone there was just super cool.
I feel like it was Posey because he had makeup on.
Oh, yeah, and they
And
said,
so-
they were like, people can't take pictures because we don't want anything to be spoiled.
Right.
Yeah,
We
that
had
was.
to deal with that much later when we had some actors on, it was like the final season, who had just like a couple of lines in a scene. One of them actually took pictures of their sides for that day and posted them on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
We
that
were
was fun.
always like the best fans about never spoiling anything, though,
It's
right?
true.
That's very accurate.
And then, so we worked as extras on June 12th, and then by just June 20th, we got our first set tour with Will. It was amazing, but we've been total besties ever since.
Can you imagine actually just working on a show and then meeting a couple of fans and actually befriending them? It's T-minus, 7 years on this friendship, and it still kind of amazes me.
Totally worth it. And to jump way back to when you were saying how great Angela Harvey and Alyssa Clark are, because they both are fantastic people.
Very talented.
Yes, I actually sat in on the writers panel, the Teen Wolf writers panel, and I was not
Right.
supposed to be there as far as I knew, because I was just walking the writers from the green room to the stage, and there was someone there holding the curtain open so the writers could go through, and I just stopped at the bottom of the stairs like, all right, I'll see you when you get up.
Bye, bye.
And Alyssa turned back and was like, come, get up here. She pulled me up on stage. It was great. That was a fun convention because it was fan run, and all that. So it was like clearly everyone there was dedicated to the show. And
they were really well organized and well run, which just shows you how strongly the fans felt about the show, which is actually a good segue, I think. What is it about Teen Wolf that has drawn people in and kept them there for so long?
I would say that all of the characters are instantly engaging. From the pilot on, where you meet Scott lacing up his throwy catchy lacrosse stick and doing, pull-ups and all that, because he wants to be first. He wants to be on first line, so that's what's driving him. And then you meet Styles, who's come to ask his best friend to go find a dead body. It's like, so Scott wants to be great at this thing, and Styles just wants to be where the crazy mystery action is, but I think that's, to go back to why Teen Wolf, like what we love about Teen Wolf, why is it lasted? Why do people care so much? I think ultimately the characters are all great. It's like all of the characters are relatable. You want them to succeed, and you want the bad guys to fail, and you want our heroes to triumph, and I think just Teen Wolf is a great example of that type of storytelling that just kind of hooks people.
I think for me, a big part of it too was the take on the werewolf mythology.
Nice.
It's different. There are a lot of elements to it that, especially as the show went on and they kind of deepened the mythology and added more layers to it, there are powers that they have, and that's part of what makes it so much fun as a writer, like writing that spec script. That world is so interesting to work in. It's a great sandbox. And I think a lot of people really responded to that and are still responding to that if you get on AO3.
Yeah, we were actually looking at the stats.
Yeah, which is Archive of Our Own.
Yes.
Which
for
is
those
for
who
anyone who's
aren't
not
big fanfic people.
right. So
Is that what AO3 stands for?
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Oh, okay.
Well, we have to be sort of Will's little fandom dictionaries sometimes, because he's not as plugged into that culture, I guess. But so fan fiction, if you aren't aware, is when fans write in a world that's already been created, whether that's a TV show, a book, a film, comic book, manga. And one of the places that you can post that work and read other people's work is on a website called AO3, which stands for Archive of Our Own.
But yeah, so we were looking at the stats on AO3, and Derek, so Styles Derek, is still the number 3 ship on AO3 of all time.
So ship stands for relationship, by the way.
Yes. So that would be a romantic relationship between Derek Hale and Styles Stilinski.
Which is not canon for anyone who's new here. We're both bisexual.
Yes, I can say that because I doubt any of my family will ever listen to a podcast.
And it was recommended to us by a friend of ours who is asexual. we're all in the community and we're always recommending things to each other that are queer friendly. But it was interesting, to get a glimpse of the fandom before you get a glimpse of the show itself, because it's a very particular lens, let's say. So you start watching it and you're like, wait, where's that relationship we kept reading about?
I do feel like what really drew people in is that Jeff Davis wanted to and did create a world without homophobia.
Yeah.
And that was just really exciting for these characters to, have Beacon Hills where there's all this stuff going on, but you don't have to worry about a hate crime going on, which then Dan Levy went on to do with Schitt's Creek, and that's another one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
And it's just really refreshing to watch a show where characters can just be out.
It was normalizing, and that's comforting, I think. I remember reading something that a fan wrote about it saying, in cultural depictions of high school, we typically see like the sports coach as, if nobody else, the last bastion of like protecting this very antiquated idea of what masculinity is supposed to be, and protecting this heteronormativity. And so for that character of all characters to be talking to one of the players on his team and making it really clear how much it's not a big deal to him, it's really striking. And yeah, I think that was something that really resonated with a lot of people and still does.
That I remember in the pilot script when Scott gets to school the next day after they go out looking for their body and all that. I remember in the business, in the description of what is happening around Scott, there's like a bit where it says boys and girls are holding hands, boys and boys are holding hands. That it's just
delightful.
Like this is just it. There's going to be a lot happening on this show for people who are coming to the show for the first time. A lot happens on this show. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of trauma, but none of it is about this. Like this is just, in this world, it's just like homophobia does not exist. That it's just, who cares type of thing. And it's just, we're not going to deal with it. Everyone's out. And if they're out, they're out. Great. And that's just life. We're moving on with it. And people like who they like. And that's the end of it.
And if you're not out, you could be. There is something really special about that. A lot of people responded to that, which I don't even think we got to that point about the AO3 stats.
We didn't.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah. So, yeah, but Staring is still number 3 of all time. And despite Teen Wolf being off the air for 4 years, over 3,000 fics were written for that ship last year, and over 10,000 fics were updated on AO3 for Teen Wolf as a fandom.
It's mind-blowing, right? And I think, if I remember correctly, that on the list of ships, number 2 was from Supernatural, which just went off the air. There is something kind of remarkable that Teen Wolf is able to compete on that level when it's been off the air,
right.
For several years.
Would you say that because it has 10,000 fics that it's fic and incredible?
Oh my God.
Teen Wolf is just the best. It's just a good show. It's just solid.
And for us, it just holds like such fond memories because it is how we met. And
it's the bedrock of a beautiful friendship.
It is.
A lot of our best memories of LA are also memories of Teen Wolf. And, thanks to Will, they're kind of inextricably linked. The joys that we were able to find while we were there were because of Teen Wolf and the people working on it being really open and kind.
Yeah. I don't know if we would have lasted more than a year without finding Will and just being able to find so much joy in Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf events.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, if I remember correctly, the year after we met, it was my birthday, and I was feeling sad because, I was in a huge city in a tiny apartment, and Will sent me a happy birthday video that included a happy birthday message from Tyler Posey, because that's just within the scope of things that Will did and within the scope of things that Tyler Posey was, okay with doing for some random girl who liked the show, So yeah, it's really special.
I had a job interview that I was super anxious about, and Will had Dylan O'Brien write a message for me and sent me a picture with it, and it was just so amazing.
I am truly amazing. It's quite incredible, actually. But no.
Those actually just for your dating profile.
Yeah.
Those two stories y'all just said, they highlight just how awesome all of our cast were. That we just had a great cast, who were always very kind and very generous with their time and would always take pictures with people or make little videos and stuff like that just because they're good people. I mean, they're just good people who...
They're sincere,
yeah.
I think.
Yes, they are sincere.
Which is really hard to find in LA.
Yes.
Every time we were on set, I just always felt so welcome by people, and just everyone was so kind. I never encountered anyone who was like, that was a bad experience. No, it was just great.
Wasn't it Eric Wallace, one of the writers, who, when y'all came to set that one time, put y'all in his seat and was like, no, come closer to Video Village. Y'all need to be up closer. Sit in my seat.
Eric Wallace is the other best Wallace that we know.
He is delightful.
Eric's fantastic.
Also very kind.
I believe he's the showrunner on The Flash now, right?
Flash right now.
Yeah.
That is
He's
super
a fantastic
amazing.
writer and just a great person, so, and like everyone on the cast and crew is just, they're great. Because I feel like everyone who was working on the show realized that it was a special show to a lot of people. When that happens, it's harder to become jaded, because that the thing you're making, the thing that we are out at Griffith Park Woods at like 4:00 in the morning shooting this werewolf fight, it's like, you know what? In 6 months, someone's going to watch this and it's going to be their favorite episode of the show. That's what's going to happen, and that everyone is going to be talking about it the next day, and Bryce Peterson's going to do his funny recaps and all that type of stuff. You're just making a good show that people love.
I feel like Teen Wolf just has totally spoiled me because I haven't fallen into a fandom since then.
Yeah.
Like before Teen Wolf, I was super into Buffy, basically anything in the Whedonverse.
Yeah.
And then after that was Supernatural. And then the next one, I fell in love with Teen Wolf, and I haven't felt that kind of excitement for a show since Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
All the Teen Wolf fans that I encountered were just so cool.
Yeah.
And just really kind, and it was just just so fun to be part of.
It was truly an amazing show that I got to work on and that I got to meet y'all through, and then, we've had so many adventures from that and through Teen Wolf. So, I mean, it's a great show. I'm really happy that we are going to be getting together every week to talk about something that we care about.
And returning to Beacon Hills.
We are returning to Beacon Hills and hopefully introducing the show to maybe some new people and, mainly getting to relive something that we care about with other Teen Wolf fans, and bring back this show that is now 10 years since the premiere. Premiered June 5th in 2011. And it's like...
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's incredible that it was 10 years ago. Because like I said, I remember distinctly seeing the first commercial. And then I remember watching the show because I had already read the scripts at that point, so I knew it was going to be good. And watching the show when it premiered and just being like, how is this on MTV? Like, how is this on any channel? It's like this shouldn't be this good. It's like this has no right to be that good, but it is.
You're right, Will. I would just really love to see them bring back Teen Wolf. I still have so many questions about it. And it's just such a fun sandbox to play in. That's, I think, why there's still so much fanfic being written about it. I have questions about werewolf ages and holidays and emissaries and all sorts of things I would love to see explored.
Even like boring things, like we've talked before about werewolf holidays and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of stuff really appeals to me. I love the idea that werewolves have a culture, that it's not an affliction. It's a community of people,
right.
Which I think, it kind of makes sense because that's how Teen Wolf felt to us.
Yeah.
So it kind of, it's really fun to delve into that. And yeah, frankly, if they wanted to do more seasons that were just about things that bore people, like do werewolves have a language? Right?
Mhm.
I would love for them to have their own language that they pass down.
This is Kate's way of saying she is a giant nerd.
Yes.
That's true.
And like, do they have their own language? What's Werewolf Hanukkah like? I want to know answers to these hard-hitting questions.
I still want to know, like, how do werewolves age?
We will get to that.
Yes, that's one of the many topics we'll be exploring as we are rewatching the series and maybe coming at it from new perspectives, because it's been 10 years since the show started and it's been 4 years since it ended. Yeah, we got a lot that we're going to try and do on this podcast. We're very excited for everyone to join us every week, and we will be having guests on the podcast. We've already booked a couple of them that I think everyone will be excited to learn about, and we'll be sharing more information about that with y'all in the coming weeks. But, what we're going to do with this podcast is rewatch the episodes and re-dive into this story that we love so much. And we're going to have some behind the scenes stories that hopefully I can relay about my time on the show and Kate and Kalissa's experiences being extras multiple times on the show, and also getting to speak with special guests on our episodes to talk about their time on the show and what Teen Wolf means to all of us and how it is an important show and how it changed all of our lives for the better. I think I can definitely say that with some surety. It definitely changed our lives.
That concludes our inaugural episode of Return to Beacon Hills. We hope you had as much fun listening as we did talking about all things Teen Wolf. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at RTBH Podcast, as well as on Tumblr and TikTok at Return to Beacon Hills. If you'd like to ask us questions or offer suggestions for future topics to discuss, you can email us at returntobeaconhills@gmail.com. Join us here next week when we talk to Ashlynn Siobhan, agent leader at the Teen Wolf Amino. Rate and review us on iTunes. 5-star reviews get a shout out. Have a great week, and we'll see you again soon on Return to Beacon Hills.
Dude, it's Beacon Hills.